Okay,
Yeah.
start.
All right. Welcome everybody to episode 10 already. I can't believe it's been 10 weeks, and we're here with Atey Ghailan,
Yeah.
and yeah. So the legend himself. Everybody knows his work. So welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a great journey so far, and it's kind of like we're kind of stepping up guests each week in a way, because it's like this guest knows that guest, and then this guest knows that guest. So I've ever since the beginning, I really wanted to have you on because you're actually one of my favorite artists,
Thank you.
and yeah, and I anyways, just welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Super excited to just chat with you guys and share some stuff I learned along the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So you can introduce what you do and where you are if you want.
So currently I'm working as a senior illustrator at Riot Games with the Splash team. Uh, I've been at Riot Games for about 4 to 5 years, and I started off as a concept artist on a different team, but I switched over recently to the Splash team.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working since 2012 as a as an artist professionally.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna bring up your art station as you talk, so people can see your work.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, I started off working for an outdoor studio in the UK called Atom Hawk. And since that, I went freelance, and then I ended up with Riot, and now I live in LA. So
Sweet.
it's long story short.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess we can start off with just like your artistic journey. What made you want to get into the industry, the field?
I think for me, it's like I have an older siblings, and I always loved playing games. Like I
Mm-hmm.
really love playing games. Um, and I was around 20, and I was about to turn 21, and I had no idea what to do in life. I love playing games, but I have no other like goals. And my sister's working with the field of law, so I said, okay, I'm gonna try that because I don't have any other preferences. And I took a course, and during this course, I started just doing random doodles in my sketchbook. I hadn't drawn much at all prior to that, but just doodling. Um, and it kind of like sparked a passion. It's like, man, this is super fun, you know. Um, and I started digging in more like how can I get better at drawing, you know. I was still playing games. I didn't know that there was a job where you mix the two, the drawing and gaming, like to be a concept artist, basically like the gap between the two. And after I found out about that, that was like my North Star, and I just started like trying to do everything I could to become a professional artist. And I ended up taking first an internship at a commercial agency in Stockholm, where I was more like an office assistant, and I did like everything possible, everything from like buying beer to the team to doing like illustrations for their magazine. It was like you do everything they need to make sure stuff gets done. Um, and during this 1 year, I decided I want to go from um, an amateur to working as a professional artist. Because at this time I was still just doing it in my free time, um, and it was a lot of grinding. Like I had a pretty strict working regime where I would wake up at 5 each morning, and I would go to bed around 11 or 12 every day. So because I was working from 9 to 5, I still wanted to draw as much as possible outside of those hours. Because I think especially when you're a student and you're starting out, there's just so much you have to go through, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
so much knowledge you need to soak up, and there's so many mistakes you have to make before things start to click. Um, and after about 6 months, I ended up with my first job, uh, working at Atom Hawk in the UK
Hmm.
for for an outsourced studio,
No. Yeah,
which
I have a
is
couple friends at Adam Hawk right now.
yeah, it was like it was such a change, from working in my own kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
just trying to learn how to draw, to like sitting around other artists was like mind blowing.
Yeah, and making a living off of it too. You're like, whoa,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah. I remember first day I came into the office there, I got my first assignment. I was like, wait, is this real? They're gonna pay me to do this? I could almost do it for free.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was awesome.
yeah, yeah. That's really cool, and it makes me almost think like it makes me wonder if that isn't like the reason a lot of people kind of undervalue themselves as artists and go for underpaid jobs because they're like, well, I've been doing it for free all this time, so I might as well start off with a $50 for a week of work or something.
Yeah. I think though it's like, the thing with art is like once you become a professional, it's a very specialized profession.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something everyone can do. Uh, Unspecialized profession is like in the past, I was cutting grass. That
Mm.
is like anyone can do it. So the salary is not very good for that. But for art, you need to spend a lot of money on education or just a lot of hours practicing, and it's really difficult to do it at a proficient level. So you should be compensated for that.
Yeah,
You shouldn't
absolutely.
undervalue yourself.
Absolutely. I'm just showing your work. I think you can actually see my screen.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm going through your work. One thing that Burn and I were talking about before was just the incredibly wide range of subject matter that you cover. Anything from indoor shots to sunny to overcast to environment focused to character focused to portraits and all that kind of stuff. It's really and it feels like a lot of the time, if most of the time, you're very focused on the story that you're trying to tell, like a single shot to capture like a story or a feeling. What are your thoughts behind that? Like,
Yeah. It was actually there was because I always knew like you gotta have storytelling in your images. But I remember, I think it was back in 2012, I attended a workshop I was working in the UK, but I went on a workshop in San Francisco called the Massive Black Workshop.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I remember like, because I really wanted to improve. I'm always striving to get better at my craft.
mm-hmm,
So I was excited to see all the demos, but to me the highlight of the whole event was the last day where it was like the portfolio review. Um, and I remember standing in line for I think 2 or 3 hours to get review from uh, two artists I was really looking up to, and still looking up to.
mm-hmm,
And I got a lot of great feedback from one of them. Uh, but the one thing that really hit me was like, you gotta put more story and love into your images.
hmm,
At the time, I got it, like, okay, more story, but like I didn't really know how to do it. I didn't know what action I could take upon to make that happen.
mm-hmm,
Um, so fast forward a few more years, I kept doing my work, but I decided to really try to push myself, and I started a challenge where I would do a sketch every single day for 1 year
mm-hmm,
with the emphasis of storytelling.
hmm,
That should be the number one thing in each sketch. No matter how subtle or how large this story would be, that would be the focus for every painting that I do for a year. And I
yeah.
learned so much from doing that.
Wow. Yeah, I remember those too. That's what I think that's a lot of those went really viral too, and that's kind of I think that's how I found out about you initially. Is you did that 365 days of like sketches or whatever, right? And it was
Yeah.
like, and I was just looking through them. And I'm like, man, every single one of these are like hit the nail on the head. It's like awesome. It's like next one, awesome. Next one, awesome. And the consistency at which you put them up made me really want to just kind of see what the next one was going to be.
Yeah. It was a huge learning experience, like, especially when you have to do it every day,
Yeah.
like some day you might have inspiration, but other days you don't, know?
Yeah.
It's like, so I started realizing pretty early on in the challenge, like, I gotta like discover a tactic to be able to keep doing these, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
I started storing, you know, whether on my computer or in my mind, small nuggets of stories that I would find, whether I do a lot of audiobooks, so whether
Mm-hmm.
like a cool moment in a book or an article I read online or something I see in real life, you know, it could
Mm-hmm.
be something as simple as like a cat hunting birds, you know, or I remember reading an article about a train station in Japan that runs they run by this one station where it's only one passenger that gets on every time, and because this girl is in high school, they don't want to close it down. They want her to finish school before they close the station down.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
that's
true
really
story.
nice.
Yeah, true story. And it's so cool. Like you can totally imagine like a sketch from that.
Yeah,
So I started just trying to, whenever I find stuff like that, I just try to save it. You know,
yeah.
even if I don't draw it now, maybe for the next day I could draw something like
Mm-hmm. I love his dog's face right here.
that.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's really interesting because just one of the things that I've always wanted to ask you most is about your story inspiration, and it's really cool to hear about that. So you just have like you'll take out like your phone or something and kind of take a little note like here's a cool
Yeah.
story idea. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to capture it, but when you're conscious of you wanna find that stuff, you put more effort into looking for it, you know? Because if it's not something you're really searching for, you're probably not gonna find it as clearly.
Yeah. Do you ever find that you have story ideas that you don't put into an image for a long time, or do you generally get to them relatively quickly?
Yeah, some of them I just fail at executing, you
Hmm.
know? And like there's some sketches I've tried 3 or 4 times and I failed every single time, and I don't want to post it, so I keep trying and trying until I feel like I achieved it.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot of a lot of failures. These are the ones that made it through the the the, the trial and error.
Yeah.
Do you go with your first idea, or do you do the usual maybe 3 to 5 thumbnails?
um, so for doing these, like usually I have about 2 hours per painting. So I try to like, since my schedule is pretty limited, I try to think like ahead of time how much can I problem solve. So when I sit down, I just execute and call it done. That's why also with a lot of these, I jump straight into color, you know, just to
Hmm.
save time on it. So I don't tend to explore too much. Just go straight for it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, scrap it and try something new next time.
Hmm. Um, I was also going to ask. I just forgot. Oh man, I totally forgot. Ask something else, Borin, while I try to remember.
Mm, so about your color choices, do you just instinctively pick your own colors, or do you use something like a formula, maybe like a color wheel, or maybe a written information like, oh, this color conveys this emotion or that emotion? How do you go about picking your colors?
I think for me is like I try to think a lot about. First of all, it starts from the story. You know, what do you want to communicate?
Hmm.
Because like based on because you're looking for an emotional reaction, right? So based on how you want the viewer to feel when they look at the image, I try to think of like, do I want a positive reaction or a negative reaction? Like, do you want to be scared, happy? Based off of that, you start to limit like the type of color choices you can use for that.
Hmm.
And then think of the story moment. Is how can you use colors to really emphasize the whole impact of it?
Hmm.
Uh, and sometimes you find some cool references, sometimes you wing it. It all really depends on the image and the subject matter.
Okay. I remember what I was going to ask. As far as references and stuff, do you search for references beforehand? Do you find that there's some subject matters you know well enough to kind of just remember and draw from? Because like this image, for example, with the person with the guitar, like having been around music stuff, I definitely know that it's set up a lot like this. The drum set's in the back, the person's in the front right here. There's the chimes right here, and like the bongos. Did you have reference for this or?
So for this was actually right after we went to a concert.
Okay.
So it was really fresh in my mind. It was Eivor. I don't know if you've heard her. They
I'm
played.
not sure.
She did like the opening for a band called Varduna, and it was so fucking cool. And this is like literally the day after I just sketched it out because I really
Okay.
wanted to capture it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. These have a very similar color palette. These two.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like how you can interpret, like, this one almost feels very like bright and cheerful and like discovery, whereas
Yeah.
this one has like a completely different mood even though you're using the same colors, just different lighting. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Man, just the variety of stories in your pieces. I'm just like, it's so interesting to look at because every time I click this arrow, it's like brand new. This one was on a stream. This one was really
Yeah.
cool. I watched a lot of that stream. I thought it was really cool. Or
Thanks.
I didn't watch the stream. I watched the video that you uploaded. But
Yeah.
man, okay. Um, what else? Let me go grab a couple to get my mind rolling. Let's see.
Did you start with a traditional medium, or you started straight away with Wacom tablet and Photoshop, or if any other program?
I started with actually my first tablet that I bought. It was a no-name brand. Because I thought the tablet didn't matter. I just wanted to try digital painting. I hadn't done much drawing prior to that other than just doodling in my sketchbook. Uh, it was a pretty bad tablet. It almost felt like you were drawing on ice. I don't know if you guys tried that, but it was awful. And I thought like digital painting was so freaking hard. Uh, Eventually, I upgraded to Wacom tablet, and it was way smoother to paint. But after starting digitally, I started doing way more traditional, um, because like I do a lot of gouache nowadays, and I feel like especially with gouache, it's very similar to how I paint digitally. So it's a nice in between medium that really helps me improve in both aspects. You know.
Okay. I love this one, the Meg. This one's one of my favorite pieces by yours, actually, because it's just
Oh.
terrifying. It's
Did you see the
really
movie?
scary. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Did I? Yeah, I did. It was
Pretty
pretty.
easy.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it was a movie about a woman who fell in love with someone and etc. etc.
No. It's actually the book is better.
Okay.
The movie it was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of. I thought it was okay. It wasn't like terrible. I didn't want to get up and leave, but it was like.
Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually the book's a lot better.
Yeah. Do you guys do books when you work, or you just listen to music?
I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts recently.
Okay.
Sometimes complete silence.
Okay.
Occasionally, but generally, at least for me, I don't listen to music with words in them. So
Okay.
I would listen to maybe jazz or lo-fi, whatever.
Yeah, that too. I've been listening to Skyrim ambience 10 hours, and I've literally gone through the entire video beginning to end 10 times.
Oh shit.
So I put that on all the time. Sometimes I forget it on when we're streaming ArtQuest, so people can hear Skyrim in the beginning of the video.
Okay. Yeah. I love books. It's just
Yeah.
there's something about it. Like whenever I listen to a book, it blows my mind how they can describe things with just words. You know, with images, I feel like it's easier. You can show it to people, but like, yeah, I just really love going through
Yeah.
audiobooks.
Oh yeah. Are you a fan of Stephen King?
Oh, I think he's probably my favorite writer.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
I cried in the book Cell.
Oh man,
Oh,
it's
it was
so good.
Yeah. Oh, and the It movies were actually pretty good. Or that
Yeah,
movie.
it was.
I
I think
thought-
the new one is coming out soon. I was
Yeah.
really surprised, actually.
Yeah, I always judge. I always look at what Stephen King says about the movies before I go and see them, because if he likes them, then I'm gonna like them. Because he's
Yeah.
really critical. Like, he's like, eh. like not
Yeah.
very good. Or I think he liked it. I listened to an audiobook of it when I was in FZD, and I was like on the edge of my seat, like drawing. So,
Yeah, it was really good. The ending got a bit weird,
yeah,
but it was really good.
yeah. Uh, um, have you read his on writing book?
No, no, I
It's
heard someone
really
recommended
good.
that to me.
Really, 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 really good. One of my favorite books by him. And
Oh, really?
it's not even fiction, it's nonfiction. So the first half of his book is basically an autobiography, and the second half of the book is all his comments on basically the art of storytelling and writing and what he says about it.
Okay, I have to try it.
Let's go through these. I definitely had a question. Blah, 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 blah. What inspires you? What do you find inspires you the most? Looking through your portfolio, such a wide variety of things, but I can tell you're definitely inspired a lot by like Japanese anime and stuff like that too, and I love it. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's awesome, and just so much stuff, like anything from a woman jogging with her corgi, which is like a California thing,
Yeah.
and to just anything,
Yeah.
where are your sources of inspiration?
I think I'm just really open to anything. Like I really really love anime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always on the lookout for new animes. If you guys have recommendations, but anything that like at the moment that I think of, I also try like the one you have up now. I work along my personal project, which is like the corgi and the penguin.
Yeah, I love that project.
We're very close to launching the game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, Dina is hosting us now.
Yep, Dina just she
Thank you,
actually
Dina.
had worked at Atom Hawk before, but she's
Oh, really?
freelancing now. Yeah, she was one of our classmates in FZD, and she has a YouTube channel. I'll send it to you sometime soon.
Okay. What year was she working there? It must have been after I was there.
Oh yeah, it was as late as like I don't know, last year, or she can tell us. She'll hear this.
Okay.
And Phil, her boyfriend, was also working there. He's still working there.
Okay.
So, let's see. Tell us about what your favorite animes are. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this.
I think probably my all-time favorite is Black Lagoon.
Oh, I love that show.
It's so good. It's so good. It's kind of dark, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I would love to see some Black Lagoon fan art from you.
Yeah, I've actually tried, but I
Yeah.
keep failing.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's her name? Remy?
Yeah, Revy.
Revy. Oh, best character ever
She's so
in
cool.
anime.
I really like that show, and I bought all the manga as well. I think it
Yeah.
started up again, so I'm falling a bit behind, but it's such a cool show.
Oh, such a cool idea, and just the storytelling and the. She said she worked there from 2016 to 2018.
Okay, yeah, I definitely wasn't there.
Oh, I love that show. My brother, he started watching anime after, because I had a big box of anime that I guess it wasn't a box, it was more of a shelf. And when I went to FZD, he went into my room and started watching, and took some of my DVDs and started watching them, because I told him like, hey, this is awesome, like you should watch it. He loved Black Lagoon. He loved what's that really popular one? Death Note. He loved
That was also really
yeah, a whole bunch of them, anything from a Cowboy Bebop, a really good one. Oh, love that one. That's one of my favorites too.
Attack on Titan season 1 is probably also one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, that one's good. Do you have a corgi?
Not yet.
Soon.
Soon. It's just my lifestyle is not very suited to have a pet right now. I spend
Yep.
too much time working. Because when I get a dog, I really want to have time for the dog.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't want them to just be home alone. So, not yet. Soon. I
Yep.
hope.
Definitely. Dina says, I would love some stories about Atom Hawk. It's fun talking to people who worked there before. Do you have any fun stories about your time there?
Let me think.
This one's crazy.
Mm.
I don't know if I have any fun stories. I was working a lot. I think during that 1 year, I was not in the office 3 days during the whole year, except when I went home for Christmas. Because I was there both weekends, and I was there before work and after work,
Oh man.
just grinding away. Yeah.
Oh, One Punch Man. Are you watching the new season?
No, I'm going. I'm going to. I
Oh,
heard it's good.
it's good. I like it. There was like a big weight. There was like a big kind of aura of like, oh, it's gonna be disappointing because they changed studios. And no, I watch it every week. It's the best. It's still great.
All right, I'll try. Is it on Netflix?
Um, I don't think so. Not the new season, at least.
Okay.
I just watched it on a website called like Watch OPM or something. I just googled
Okay.
like where do I watch One Punch Man, and yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the big dude.
Yeah, such a good show.
Yeah. Oh, so. Let's see. Did you? What are your thoughts on design versus illustration, and what are your thoughts about storytelling in your images? So, I guess I would say, as far as like design goes, you had mentioned that you kind of switched at one point, and we'll definitely discuss that because that was actually before the stream that we were talking. But
Yeah.
so, have you ever done like, oh, you worked at Atom Hawk? Were you an illustrator there or a concept artist?
Concept artist.
Okay, so switching from a concept artist to an illustrator, what are your kind of thoughts on that? Are you glad you worked as a concept artist, or?
Yeah, I think for concept art, because my focus was actually mostly environment paintings,
Mm-hmm.
environment backgrounds. I did some character stuff as well, but I think for me, like doing environments was really fun,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and doing like designs. But it came to a certain point where, for me, it was trying to help the 3D artists to solve a problem,
Mm-hmm.
which is really fun on its own, but like it kind of took away from me just wanting to tell stories and sell cool ideas, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I reached that point in my career where I realized working as an environment concept artist was not gonna help me grow either, because I'm really bad at characters, you know.
Mm.
Like it's something I'm really trying to improve upon. And I try to put a lot of emphasis on it. So I really wanted to switch things up and put myself in an area where I wasn't comfortable in, and like doing
Mm-hmm.
splash art where it's very heavily character based. You know, you always have to see the character's face. There's a lot of hands, and uh,
Yeah.
all that is really hard for me. So I really wanted to push myself and switch into that.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that's the biggest thing. You know, it really depends like what you're after personally and what gets you satisfied. Because for
Mm-hmm.
me, art is not a job. Like working at Riot is not a job. It's like I just it's just a big part of who I am, you know, and it's
Mm-hmm.
extremely important. I'm very satisfied with it at all times.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Um. So you're, because I guess in a way you kind of still are like a concept artist in a way, whereas you're pitching ideas, selling ideas, like
Yeah.
this idea right here. I really like. I've always liked this one actually. I saw this one a long time ago, and I really like the idea behind it. It's like, it reminds me of like the Stephen King book or something.
I don't remember if it was Stephen King, but there's a book called The Fog. I forgot who the author was.
I know he
It
wrote The
was
Mist.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar.
Okay, which is a great
Yeah.
book by the way. The Mist.
Yeah.
It's too short.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you read it? Have you read Stephen King's
No,
Mist?
I haven't read The Mist.
It's only like 100 pages long, or like 120 pages long. It's too short. It's really good though.
Yeah, I think also like when the thing is like when you do a lot of concept art, a lot of the times you do a lot of throwaway work.
Oh
You know?
yeah.
And that's totally fine. But for me, I've been working since 2012, and doing so much throwaway works eventually got to the point where I want to have things that are not being thrown away and actually used. And the splash art itself, it's in the game, in the client, and you get to share it pretty early on. You don't have to wait like 3 years to share
Yeah.
your work. So that was also like a reason why I wanted to
Yeah.
switch up.
3 years to show one image out of 1,000.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
No, I've been working as a concept art. Well, I haven't been working consistently over the years, but I've done, I don't know, dozens and dozens and dozens of images. I don't know, hundreds maybe, and only one thing has ever been released, and that's actually one of the very first images I ever did as a concept artist, and I hate the image, so I don't want to show it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like that makes a lot of sense though. Like, and I was thinking the other day, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. That what was it exactly? It was like you throw away so much work that you almost stop caring about it. So, like, to the point where it's like damaging to your own like work. It's like artists who care too much about their work aren't willing to change, and I feel like artists who care too little about their work burn out. They're like, like, I don't care about this anymore. I've run into that myself before, where I just don't. Sometimes I don't really enjoy what I do because it's like, well, I don't. It's like this is one of 100, and have you ever felt that?
Yeah, that's kind of why I also wanted to switch, because like I said, it's really important for me that I feel satisfied and I have fun with what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do something, like, I like to give it 100%.
Yeah.
I can't accept if I don't do 100%. And when you throw that away, that's fine. But over time, when there's so much throwaway work, like, I'd rather do something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy to burn out, like, especially when you when you care so much and your work is thrown away. Like, it takes a toll on you after a while. I've seen a lot of people burn out.
Yeah, definitely. Let's maybe we should elaborate on burnout, because I know you wanted to talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
How to avoid it, how to get out of it, and what just your general thoughts are on that, because you draw
And what are
a
the
lot.
symptoms of burnout if it's starting?
Yeah.
Symptoms of burnout.
That's a big one.
I think the one thing that's always super, super important when you do art for a living is that you have fun, Because, like, I think with art, unlike other jobs, if you're feeling good, it'll show in your work. If you're feeling bad, it'll show in your work. So it's very important to stay at a high level of having fun. Of course, it's going to be hard days, personal life might take you down, but, like, in the work environment, it's just a method I always try to think of. Like, I always want to have fun, and I want to be in a great mood when I'm at work and doing my work, because the quality will be better. But, and I think also it is important to not think of it as a work and really maintain the passion of why you like to draw. Because over time, I've seen this with a lot of my coworkers, that it becomes a job. And I think art is more than just a job. It's an amazing job. You get to come up with cool shit all the time. But it's hard when all you do is client work, or you do work for someone else. So the one thing I found to be super helpful to maintain the passion and the fun is doing personal work, because it allows you to vent as well. It allows you to truly express what you like to do. There's no restrictions, there's no deadline, there's no limitations, and it also allows you to try things you maybe didn't want to try when you do for a client. Like, say you're doing work for someone, and you have an idea of a workflow that could increase your speed, get better result, but also might fail. You kind of don't want to do that when you have a deadline and we're doing work for someone else. You gotta experiment with those things in your free time, and if it works, you bring it into your main workflow, because you can't have coming up to a deadline and tell someone, oh, I tried this new workflow, it kind of failed, but I learned a lot. So just give me some more time and I'll get to. You can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So that's the recommendations I would give, and like, yeah,
Yeah. But at the same time, you can't put off what's going to help you get better. Like you know that like there's like a hard path and that's what's going to get you better. Like I don't know, there's like this weird balance between struggling to get better and wanting to have fun in your work. You know, it's like cuz something like learning perspective or learning like anatomy, it's not easy. And a lot of people get very discouraged through it. So it's like you have to really pay attention to the balance between doing what you need to do and doing what you want to do. Because there's people out there, it's just like they really need to learn their perspective, their values, their composition, you know, their anatomy, and they keep putting it off. They keep putting it off because it's uncomfortable. Whereas you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable because that's how you get better. And I think that's why you're so good at what you do is because you're just like, well, how can I get better? How can I get better?
yeah.
And it's really cool.
Yeah, it's just important, you know, like you can't you know, when you do client work you can't push the boundaries, but at the end of the day you have to deliver. So you can flex, you can try different things, but within a limitation. But within your personal work, that's when you can go utterly crazy.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that, because like we were talking a bit earlier about when I quit my full-time job, when I quit Atom Hawk, I started freelancing. Um, I got together with a few friends on Skype, and we used to do studies in the morning, and then we would do a speed paint.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to grow, and it was like doing personal work because we're all very stuck in doing client work.
Yeah.
And but to mix it up, we decided to, you know, we limited to 30 minutes, and we give each other topics. So you were not prepared for the topic, and you have to share the result with each other. And doing that for so many sessions and having so many failures, you kind of got a bit immune to like being okay with a shitty shitty painting.
Yeah.
You know. And that was like a huge learning curve and a muscle that really helped me keep exploring in my free time outside of that group. So that was like super helpful to just go through a lot of failures doing just a bunch of speed paints.
Yeah. That was the spit paint group, right? You said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of I know a lot of people that I know are familiar with that from the good old days of a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So just the sheer volume of amount of work that you've done is really incredible. Just your art station is packed, and not only packed, but so many of your posts have like 3, 4, 5 images in them. Like it's crazy. There's so many pictures, and they're all so high, good quality,
consistent quality.
Yeah.
It's just fun, you know, when you limit yourself and you just want to try something, because if it's a smaller, you know, like, okay, I'm gonna sit down for 2 hours to do this painting. You don't feel bad if you waste the time, you know. You can try something, and if it fails, that's totally okay. Rather than like you put in like a shit ton of time and it fails, it feels pretty bad. But doing like smaller bursts, I feel it's very healthy to be able to fail in the long run. You know?
That's really interesting. Yeah. No, definitely. I can see how someone could put in 16 hours into a painting and fail, and they'd be like, "Oh, I never want to draw again." But if you have like a 30-minute painting, it's just like, whatever, I'll do another one. Especially if you come from being a concept artist where you're throwing away 90% of your work anyways. It's kind of the same old thing, except now it's your own work that you want to work on.
What was the longest hour you've ever committed to a painting, and how it changed over time as your skill grew?
The longest time on a painting. I think it's an upcoming painting for League that's coming out soon.
Ooh. Stay tuned.
Dude, we have to cut this out from the...
I'm actually gonna do a YouTube video on it as well and try to like
Awesome.
explain the process, because like with the League splashes, I really like I hate drawing hands. I hate drawing faces. So I'm gonna make it the focal point of the painting.
Oh,
Uh,
like like
yeah, 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 yeah.
hands on the
So
face or something. I don't know. It's like
maybe I don't know. So that was a very difficult painting, but I learned a lot. And yeah,
awesome.
because like with a hand and a face, like everyone can tell if it looks bad or if it looks off. Like you
Yeah.
can tell straight away. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man.
do
Dina.
you know,
Oh yeah.
oh, sorry, man. You go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna say, yeah. Dina says, same here. 2 years at Atom Hawk, nothing to show. Really like doing my own art instead. Like I said, she actually left Atom Hawk and she has a YouTube channel. She just passed 100,000 subscribers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she is actually gonna be our guest next week. For those who didn't
Yes.
know, but she has a Patreon and all that too. So really much happier nowadays, and it's gonna be awesome to ask about that sort of thing. Anyways, Buren, what were you gonna say?
Do you know the artist Noah Bradley? Quote. He said, "If you can draw face and hands really well, you can get away with murder."
It's true. It's true because like if you do a painting, right? Like you're pitching an illustration and you nail the face, it'll distract the viewer from anything else. They'll
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, the face."
You know, it's also the same with all these 3D games coming out recently. Like you have these like motion capture animations about characters briefing, talking, action scenes, right?
Yeah.
You can totally tell that their ass, armpits, their knees are like totally fucked up, but their face is like perfect, and maybe their hands are really good.
Yeah.
But then if you pause and look around the environment and the table and maybe the phone they're holding and stuff, it's terrible. But their face is like perfect.
Oh yeah. I
Once
wanted
you get
to.
the face, you're good.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about this. You kind of did a number of these with the little mouse and the cat.
Yep.
What was your? Where did you get that inspiration? I've always loved these ones. I know you did like I don't know how many, 4 or 5 or something.
Yeah. I don't know. I used to love Tom and Jerry as a kid. And actually, do you guys know Max Smith?
I don't think so, but I know Tom and Jerry.
Well, he does this kind of like it's a story about mice in the world they live in, where kind of humans have left.
Hmm.
And cats are like these fierce predators, and the mice are like the humans of the world. And seeing that, it is so cool, and like that always like inspires me, because I always thought of like maybe diving deeper into a world like that at one point, but it's just trying some stuff out.
That's
It's-
really cool.
It's such a contrasting character types as well,
Yeah.
The innocent mouse, the evil cat.
Yeah. No, definitely. I've always loved that. Yeah, I watched Tom and Jerry non-stop growing up. Same with Pink Panther.
Yeah.
Oh man, I loved Pink Panther. Yeah.
I actually used to watch when I was a kid. It was like a clay show called, I don't know if you guys had it in the US, called Pingu.
I don't think I've had it here.
I think that's what's like, it was so ingrained in my mind that it became part of the IP I'm building as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
Yeah, he doesn't have a top hat, but it's about a penguin doing random stuff.
Yeah. That leads me on to. Do you want to talk about your IP, your story, your game? Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. I put up a YouTube video. I can send you guys in Hangout.
Yeah, we can link it in the Discord and in the chat of Twitch. Boren, do you have the YouTube stream open? Because I don't
Yeah, I
know
do,
if there's
yeah.
any questions in there. Okay, I didn't have that window open.
I just have that's commitment, and one guy said, "Hey yo," that's it.
All right,
I don't have any question over here.
great.
Yeah, I put the link in, but basically, like, I think after I quit Atom Hawk, or at the verge of when I was about to quit, I started thinking of like I want to build my own IP. You know, I'm sure you guys familiar with Dan Luisi, right?
Yeah, I've heard of. I've seen his work before. He had his IP Last Man Standing, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I remember like this was really early on, and I from my memory, like that was the only one that I saw who was actually building his own universe type of thing. And I thought that's so cool. I would love to do something like that. Um, so I started like slowly chipping away at it since 2013 roughly. It's basically about a world of where a girl called Miranda, her best friend is a penguin called Toki, um, and their dog Ulf, and they're masters of mechanical things, and they live in a world where robots are disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I tried exploring many different ways of turning this IP into something. You know, I didn't know what I wanted to make with it. I tried, what if it was more of a graphic novel? That didn't quite work.
Mm-hmm.
I tried, what if it was like more an animated thing? I tried animating in Photoshop. That was a total disaster. Uh, so then I thought, like, last year I was thinking, like, okay, the animation failed pretty bad. It was it was probably one of the most frustrating things artistically I've ever encountered.
That's
Uh,
horrible.
yeah.
So,
Uh, but I had to take a breather for like a few weeks. But afterwards, I was like, okay, I still like the IP. What can I do? You know, I tried these two different directions, and I was talking to my wife, and I was like, what if I'm trying to make a game? You know, it's very different. I have no idea how to how to do it. What if we try? And I started exploring a bunch of ideas of what it could look like because I play a lot of mobile games, and I started talking with a friend who had never programmed before or like programmed professionally, and we're like, let's try to make a game, right? And we started on this journey like mid last year, and we are very close to launching the game itself. The premise is you're fishing at the beach as the penguin, and you're trying to escape the seagulls.
That's
Yeah.
so like adorable. It's like the most adorable idea. I love it. I think
Yeah.
I did see your little preview where he's like jumping over stuff and the seagulls are coming, and that's such a good
Yeah.
idea. It's like
It's like a
the
platformer.
yeah, that's really cool. You like playing platformers?
Yeah.
That's-
I loved Crash Bandicoot as a kid. But since we were a two-man team, we had to think of a way like, how can we use our strengths to make the game and actually finish the game? You know. So we decided to go side scroller and use as much 2D as humanly possible.
Yeah. It's like
Uh,
Ori and the Blind Forest. Have you played that?
yeah, that's super good.
Yeah, that's a side scroller too, I think. I don't think I've ever played
Yeah.
it, but I love the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's an incredible game.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
where are you releasing the game on?
iOS and Android.
Okay.
I'll probably do another YouTube video next week or the week after update, but we're very close. We need to do some testing before we go live, just to make sure that uh, the game works well, there's no bugs, and that people can go through the flow of the game without being confused about what to do in certain stages. Because when you work on something for so long, it's like same if you're doing a painting. Like at a certain point, you just can't see stuff. You know?
Yeah.
So you kind of need other people's perspective to try and untangle it.
Yeah. I love how you sorry, I got distracted. I love how you interpreted all this area as just really bright. Right here in the middle of the city.
Yep.
No details.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very
But it's
cool.
readable.
Oh, I'm going to write down a question that I want to ask too. Anyways, Burin, do you have any questions while I take a note?
So, looking at your details, what is the best way to like simplify or like reprogram your head to ignore the detail obsessed part to just make it like as simplified as possible?
I think it's like really focusing on your focal point and really make that shine, and also thinking about how close it is to the viewer in the image. If it's really close, it's going to be super detailed. If it's far away, you can suggest a lot of it.
Mm.
Focusing on your focal point and letting the rest fall off really helps you just hone in on selling the image a bit better and saves you a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when you think about it, you look at a photography or you look outside to scenery, you can't see everything in detail. You just see a certain part of where you're directly looking that has the most noise. Everything else kind of blurs out.
Yeah.
And I just try to like use same when I
Yeah,
do
that was very similar to actually the question I just wrote down. I was going to ask about interpretation of shapes. Like how do you practice interpreting and simplifying your shapes? Yeah. Like when you do a study, for example, so let's say you take a photo or you see some reference and you want to express it in simple brushstrokes. How how do you go about studying that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you need to think about like if the purpose, first of all, the purpose, what is the purpose of the study? If the purpose is brushstrokes, then you can try different ways of like how can you suggest the form in as few brushstrokes as possible, you
Yeah.
know? And also think of ways of incorporating it into your actual work.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the a good way to benefit the most from studies is do things that tie directly into your professional work, you know?
Yeah.
So you don't say you're doing like you're drawing a lot of tanks. You don't go do a portrait study because to use that in the tank paintings, it's very hard to tie those two in. But if you do studies of aircrafts or you do of like I don't know some other military object like Hummers or something, it would be much easier to bridge the gap between the two.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love this one with the big fox. It's so cool. And the water, it's exactly like that. This is the stream and everything. Because
Thanks.
growing up in, I grew up in Arizona, and there was a lot of streams like up in the mountains and stuff, and it's exactly like this. You know, bass, largemouth
Uh,
bass, and rainbow trout and stuff in there, and
Colton,
yeah.
can you check if the YouTube is streaming? Because on my browser, it's just loading no matter how many times I refresh it.
All right.
Could you please check that?
Yeah.
So, Ati, yeah, it's so easy to get lost in details. Like, even if you do 3D, it's so like, it's like therapeutic to just go in detail,
Yeah.
detail, right? But then when you look back at it, you go like, oh my God, I completely ignored the main composition, reading, focal point, colors, back and front, 1, 2, 3s, whatever. Everything that needs to be checked is like ignored if you just start. Also, I noticed that a lot of the beginners just like to straight away start from the details, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually when I started when I was doing my earlier paintings, I would like start with a face, not drawing the composition or anything, just start with a face and kind of work my way through it. Like, oh, here goes the body, here's the leg, and maybe a background behind. And I think if you from the beginning, you decide what is the focal point and try to like build the image up as a whole, it becomes a lot easier to really make things fall off and make things pop up with detail.
Hmm.
No, the YouTube video is not loading for me for some reason. I'll
Also,
send
it's
it
not
to
loading for Ursula as well.
That's so weird. I mean, it says it's live. If I go to our profile, it's
Yeah.
like we're live. I'm just gonna have to.
Would you like to cut the video?
No, it
Just
says
be
it's
safe.
working. I can always steal it from Twitch and upload it, or download it from Twitch and then put it on YouTube. I don't know. That's really weird.
Oh, the Twitch is saving, right? Because Twitch is
Yeah,
fine.
I put the saving on. That's really
sorry,
weird.
sorry, Adi. Things
worries.
happen sometimes.
Yeah.
So when, like, let's say about your past a little bit, like, when was the moment that you saw some painting or maybe a movie or a sculpture or somebody told you a story, and that made you really decide, like, look, I could be a lawyer, I could be a cop, but this is something I really want to do because I think this is very cool.
Yeah.
What was it? It could, for everybody it's different, right?
Yeah,
So if you remember, please share with us.
I think. Do you guys remember conceptart.org?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's the oldest.
Yeah?
I was
Yeah.
never actually on that site.
Yeah.
Okay.
It went down before I ever went on it.
It was at the time it was like incredible resource for artists.
Mhm.
And I remember like it was pretty early days. I was browsing some of their threads and I think I came across like I think it was Jason Chan's work or something. And I saw these incredible illustration. I was like, how is this? How does he do this? Because like I can totally get the character, I get the lighting. And it's like I want to do this too. I think that was probably like, and there's a lot of artists like him who had like incredible sketchbook, and just being exposed to that a lot really made me like, okay, I want to do this as well. Because it looked like it was so much fun doing that.
Mhm.
Amazing website. Unfortunately, I don't know if it still exists, but
A lot of the images died last time I checked. Like I tried to go back to these old albums, like I think a year or two ago, and there were just these red X's on the spaces.
no.
That's what most forums do, right?
that's like a treasure chest for artists.
A lot of guys started there. They used to post every day, communicate, because there wasn't any social media at that time.
Yeah.
And there wasn't any hosting websites. I mean, there weren't many hosting websites. Like, I don't know, like, let's say, maybe DeviantArt was just starting at that point.
Yeah.
So guys would just put it like forum style. So maybe some crazy guys would have like 50 pages, and each page, like half of it is just replies, right? Oh, cool, this sucks, cool. And yeah, it was cool. Like, I totally remember going there.
Yeah. It was a really good thing to look at because like it gave you a very honest look at, because like when you do a lot of work, and you put it in a folder, it's very hard to see when you're improving or when you're stagnating. But in the sketchbook format, basically like you put up your work and you can see as you go through your journey, and it's very easy to identify if you're getting stuck, if you have similar problems, because you can see like a timeline of your work, which gives you a whole nother perspective than seeing pieces individual. And for me, I felt that was an incredible way of like identifying your own flaws and looking for solutions.
All right, YouTube is working for me again. It came up automatically.
Okay, that's odd.
Sorry, I was trying to get that to work the whole time. Okay. All right, Angry Birds. I think, or is that a penguin?
Penguin.
Okay, it reminded me of Angry Birds. Did you play that game, Angry Birds? Yeah. Oh my gosh, my mom got so into that game, and we played it so much, on her, because my dad got her an iPad, and then it was nothing but Angry Birds for just months.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
Yeah. Oh, I like the. There was one that was kind of like this that I saw earlier. That was it was raining, and that there was that girl under the clear umbrella with the floating. I think it was like an orb or something. But this is like what is this, like a phone charger, or what is it? Phone chargers, yeah.
It was we were actually the day before or the same day we went to Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never seen this before, but they had like, you can charge your phone. It's like a circle. You just put your phone on it, and it charges automatically.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's like I was like, whoa, what is this? It's like, what if these things exist everywhere in life? So they're not just in Starbucks. They're like floating devices out in the city. And you just like plug in your phone, because every time your phone is at low batteries.
Oh, Adi, I have a question regarding of creativity.
Yeah.
Now that I hear you give us ideas, what about this? I saw that, it inspired me. I think maybe one of the ways to have a very good creativity is learning to ask simple but the right questions from observation.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not like, oh, I want to do the next epic transform. No, it's not that, right? It's just, hey, what if I see I don't know, like a turtle, but completely transparent like jellyfish and flying in the sky on an apocalyptic world or something like that,
The
right?
simplest
It's
form of
that
the
it's that
idea.
simple usually, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
It doesn't-
I mean the ideas are infinite, but it's just what you choose to do, right? That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Inception, the movie?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like we need to find the simplest form of the idea to plant, and it's like yes, it's complicated, but its roots are simple.
Yeah.
So, her right here,
Yeah.
is she still in the project?
For the mobile game, we're leaving her out
Okay.
because of
What did she do, man?
because it's like again, we want to ship the game and we're making it 2D.
Yeah.
To animate her and make her feel good would have been way too hard.
Yeah.
So we decided to go with just the penguin and the dog from the IP. But she'll be back. We're
Great.
in the future.
And this is the Miranda, right?
Yes.
Okay. I
like-
remember when this was coming out. It's like oh, sorry, go on.
It's just trying a bunch of different key moments in the story.
Yeah.
Of what it could look like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it gives me the same vibes that Simon Stålenhag's work gets, except more whimsical. It's like that's what I love about it. His Tales from the Deep or some, I don't know exactly. We have his art books. My brother has them, but this project of yours gives me those same curious, I want to find out more vibes. Except I'm like, I want to find out more in a Ghibli style, and it's like you're kind of discovering all these like machines, like, oh, like what are these lumps? Like that's awesome. Like, oh my gosh, what is this? What happens when it's powered on? Did she know it was here all along? Like, does it have something to do with why there's a penguin? I don't know. It's such a cool idea. So
Actually, speaking about... Sorry.
Yeah? No, you go on.
Actually, Seamless Tall Hog, his work, when I see his work, because I grew up in the north of Sweden,
Yeah.
I instantly feel nostalgia, because
Aw.
so much of that is like the Swedish countryside.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So you have this whole story and idea fleshed out for the most part? Like,
For the IP,
yeah, like character backstories and stuff like that, or?
it's pretty broad. It's still, I haven't narrowed it down as much as
Okay.
I'd like. Because like I feel like that's one thing, that's actually a problem I've encountered with trying to make an IP, because I have no idea what I'm doing. And I thought in the beginning, like when I first started, it's like, okay, I gotta figure out every single thing, exactly how it works. How does a trash can look in this city? Like, because it takes place in Stockholm, which is a version of Stockholm but slightly in the future. Like, what do people dress like? Where do they exactly live? How do their house look like? And what does their bedroom look like? And doing all this stuff, it was very helpful for me, but I noticed I kept postponing to actually dive into the project.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, I can't do this yet. I have to figure this thing out first, and then I have to figure this out. And then I realized, with the game, it's like I'm just gonna fucking do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can swear on the, but you just gotta do it. Like you can figure stuff out as you go, but you have to take the idea and turn it into something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll just be an idea forever.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Then,
love this one.
When you commit to something like that, there's usually the fear of, oh, is it going to be good enough?
Yeah.
Or how's it going to be? Don't ignore all that, right? Just do it right and the way you want to do it.
Exactly.
That's the whole point, right?
Do something you're excited about, something you have fun with, and it will work. Don't worry too much about like, oh, it has to be successful or has to. Just have fun and do something you're personally excited about. I think is the most important thing.
People can feel when you are having fun.
Yeah.
Usually.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, the fundamental drawing skill, blah blah blah. That's the other stuff, right?
Yeah, that's your tools. You can't build something without your tools.
Yeah,
And
that's a really good explanation, actually. You can't build because
So,
it's
do you have a set deadline for this, your IP? To Or
I
you
would
would keep doing it until it's done. Like, I don't care how long it takes. Could be now, or could be 4 or 5 years. I'll
I
just
would
keep doing
see
it
it.
till it gets right.
Yeah, I would see it as my life's work. You know, I'm gonna
Mm.
keep. The game is the first stab at really trying to make something from this that I can be that I can show. You know, because like I tried the graphic novel, it failed. I tried the animated thing, it failed. So this is like another stab at really trying to make something with it. There's already other things coming up, which I can't talk about just yet.
Yeah, it's okay, man.
Yeah.
We don't want to edit the videos.
Yeah.
like David's. Oh, he's
Yeah.
Swedish too.
Yeah. What's his last name?
Noren, Norren, or one R. I don't remember. He was in our class in FZD. He works in Korea right now, but he's funny dude. Anyways, go on with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what. It's just like I don't think it'll ever end, but I want to keep making things with the IP.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Have you ever seen those anime, or I guess illustrations where there's like the girl sitting and she's drawing a picture, but it's the picture of her sitting, like the one that we're looking at?
Yeah.
The seagulls.
For me, that one seagull right in the front of the camera,
Yeah.
he's gonna pull out a knife or something.
What is he looking at?
No. He looks
I don't
kind
know.
of scary.
I
Like,
don't-
Oh, that one. Look at that one. I didn't even notice that one. Oh yeah. I love all these. They're so nice. Oh, here's your gouache. These are gouache, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh, 2 years ago though. So you're still doing gouache.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you use
I never touched traditional medium since, I don't know, 2012 maybe.
Yeah.
I said goodbye. The only thing I touched was pen, and that was an FCD, pen and markers.
Have you found that doing traditional medium helps a lot? Or yeah.
Especially gouache, because I tried oil, I tried watercolor, I tried casein. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's type of like gouache type of thing. But like gouache itself it's so close to how I paint digitally.
Mm-hmm.
So the knowledge I gained from painting with gouache transfer much more easy to my digital workflow.
Okay. You paint pretty opaque?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why I really like it. And it's, if you make a mistake, there's no undo, but you let it dry and you can paint over it. And it's easy to clean the brushes as well, because like with oil, it's a nightmare.
Oh, turpentine and all this.
Yeah. And it takes away, like, you spend just as much time cleaning your brushes as you spend painting.
Yeah.
And
Have you
like,
ever... Yeah, I hate... It takes a long time, yeah. Have you ever tried doing oil painting, like Bob Ross style, where it's just like wet on wet? Like that?
No, I tried. I tried a bit, but it was not fun.
Yeah, that's cool. What kind of gouache do you use, anyways? Do you use real gouache, or is it that fake gouache? Like in Art Center, we used this one kind of gouache. It wasn't a real gouache. It was like, here, I can look right now. It was I have the bag right here. It's this acrylic gouache. It's like acrylic paint, but it's like supposed to be like gouache too.
Okay.
I don't know.
I think like I tried a lot of different brands with gouache. I think if you're really just learning and you're starting out, just buy whatever brand and just get used to the medium.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like a huge difference in good gouache and bad gouache.
Yeah.
I use exclusively Winston & Newton. It's incredible.
Oh, okay.
But it's
I've
more
heard of
pricey.
that.
But
Yeah,
it's
I've definitely
really,
heard of
really
that.
good.
Okay. That's
So-
cool. Misty.
Yeah.
and Pikachu.
Yeah.
You a big Pokemon fan?
Yeah, I really like it. I'm gonna check out Detective Pikachu in the cinema soon.
Oh yeah, it's out.
Have, have you guys seen it?
No, I heard it was pretty
Uh,
good though.
Yeah,
Not
I'm
yet.
actually surprised.
I went and saw Godzilla last night. It was so over the top. Like, I don't think it was a very bad movie. It was just when you start off at 100%,
Yeah.
there's no up from there. It's only the
It's
same.
plateau,
Yeah, it's plateau.
but really high plateau.
The entire movie was so loud. It was like going to a rock concert.
Okay.
But it was good though.
Would you recommend it?
If you like monster
Yeah.
movies, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I saw John Wick recently too. That was pretty good too.
Nice.
Let's see questions. Do you consider this a risky career, and do you consider yourself a risk taker?
Both yes and no. I think, like, you need to be okay with failure. Like, if you're not willing to fail, I don't think it ties to art in general. Like, it's very hard to do almost anything in life,
Yeah.
Like, you gotta, like, things are never gonna be guaranteed, but there's always, like, some luck involved, some other factors involved, but, like, you gotta give it 100%, and then just, even if you fail, that's okay. You just keep trying, keep trying, and eventually you succeed. I failed so many times, man. I remember when I remember I applied to 5 different art schools, and this was at the time when I found out I wanted to draw for a living, and I got rejected from every single one of them. Uh, and that was pretty rough considering I just wanted to learn how to draw.
Yeah.
But rather than being discouraged by rejection, because I thought my work was utter garbage. If I'm getting rejected from art schools, how bad can it be from so many? Rather than letting that discourage me and give up on art, I was like, okay, I'm gonna prove to myself that I can do this. And that's why I think that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it really fueled me with energy to push really hard for what I want. And it kind of stayed with me ever since.
That's really cool. So it actually gave you more motivation to try even harder than discourage you to.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that some people get really discouraged? Like, there's a couple people that have been around, kind of like the Discord in our group, who it feels like as soon as they fail, it's like instant discouragement, no more drawing for the next 3 weeks, versus someone who fails and they're just like, oh yeah, well, I'll try 10 more times then, and if I fail all those times, then I'll try 100 times.
Yeah.
What do you think that?
I don't know what that is. I think you can definitely learn it, but I think it comes down to how bad do you really want something. It doesn't matter if it's art, whatever it is in life, whatever your goals is in life, like, how bad do you want it, and how much you're willing to sacrifice for it. Because it's a very difficult to work as an artist. There's a lot of people who want it. It's super competitive. So it's very easy to think that you can't do it, but if you really want it, you can definitely do it. It's just gonna take a lot of effort to make it happen, but it's doable.
Yeah.
It just comes down to how bad you want it, I think, no matter what it is.
Did we talk about the path that you took self-teaching yet, or was that before the stream?
That was before the stream.
Okay. Do you want to talk about how you went about teaching yourself, where you learned perspective, where you learned your composition, all that kind of stuff, how you went about that? Because there's a lot of people that are actually self-teaching in our group, and they'd love to hear.
Yeah, I think for me is, like I said, I applied to art schools, but I got rejected. So I had to find, and I think the good thing about art school is when you make a mistake, you have a teacher who can help you, like, oh, you should try this and this, or do this thing instead, and you progress much faster. That's to me, that's a huge benefit of having an art school or a teacher. But when you don't have that, it's like you gotta figure that stuff out on your own. Uh, it could be very difficult as well. Like when you don't know what you're doing wrong, how do you find a solve to it? So for me, like what I try to do is like I try to, because learning how to draw is a big task. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like there's so much to learn. Like no matter how long you work as an artist, there's always things to get better at and improve upon. Uh, but when you're starting out, it's like you gotta know perspective, anatomy, values, colors, composition, and it's like, how am I gonna learn this?
Yeah.
Uh, so I try to break it down into like tiny chunks. You know, I started with, okay, I want to first learn how to draw environments. You know, I want to learn characters, vehicles, all that, but first environments and how can I do it right. Um, so I started with like, okay, how does 1 point perspective work? And
Mm-hmm.
I tried a bunch of like studies I read online. You have so much information online. And when I felt I was getting pretty comfortable with it, I tried some exercises. I would like take photos or find photos that represent 1 point perspective or sceneries. And then I was like, when I felt comfortable with it, I tried to level up. Let's try 2 point perspective. And let's try to make images using 2 point perspective and find photos online that represent it or references just to see how it works. And then
Mm-hmm.
went up to 3 point. And when I was getting comfortable with that, like I started diving into more mechanical stuff. I didn't jump into human anatomy characters until like um, after I worked for about a year at Atomok. That's when it really became an interest for me, and I've been trying to get better at it ever since.
Okay. Did you?
But
Oh yeah.
I think it's just breaking it down into pieces. That's more chewable bites, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's the same in school too. You have separate classes where you focus on one thing at a time, so it breaks it down into manageable pieces. You know, like today we're learning 1 point perspective, or today we're just learning how to divide a box in half. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, and then you're like, once you master that, they're like, okay, now this is a building, and you just figured out, and you just learned how to put windows on it. It's
Yeah.
like, oh wow, but yeah, did you was Scott Robertson's How to Draw book out when you were learning? I don't think it was.
I
Maybe it
don't
was.
think so.
Okay.
I think also the concept art forum was super critical for me.
Mm.
Because
Wow.
like we talked earlier, they had like a sketchbook section where you could you basically saw other people going through the exact same thing as you know?
Yeah.
Like which is really nice when you're not alone on a journey.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
sometimes you're going to be, but like when you're in a classroom with students, you're all in there together. You know, you're all going through this journey together.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing it from home and you have no artist in the vicinity who's interested in having that online presence or the online forum was like an incredible thing.
Yeah. That's definitely true, and that's you need that support group, and it's not even a support group, just knowing that other people are out there also in the same situation and that you're not alone. Even a boyfriend or a girlfriend that's like also maybe that's already working, or maybe that wants to work too, or maybe they're in a completely separate industry but they're also trying to get to become a professional. It's really important.
Yeah.
This does not look safe.
No, no. It's not.
I
But
love the color palette though.
they look so beautiful. Yeah,
I
I
know.
think this was inspired from when we went to like the aquarium here in LA. Like
Mm.
the jellyfishes are so colorful and they're so cool.
Man,
But
I
you
need to
know
go
they're
to aquarium.
dangerous.
I keep writing down places you talk about that are here around LA that I've never been to because I'm always working.
Addy, what is your average workday routine is like?
So I get up at 4:30 every day, and
Jocko.
I do personal work. It depends on the work of the day. I might go to the gym at 5 and then get back to personal work. But I do work from 4:30 till about 9 or 10. It depends. And then I go into work. I do my Riot work, and I come home at about 6. I eat dinner for about half an hour, and I try to do an hour or an hour and a half of final push on Well, personal work that doesn't require as much thinking as earlier during the day, because during the it's like you have a battery, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the start of the day, you have way more energy and you can think way more. So that's why I try to do more difficult art-related things. And at the end of the day, I try to like just things I can not have to think as much, but still do, just to like maximize the use of the day, essentially.
Wow, you are like a
Hmm.
machine. That's crazy.
It's just so much to do, and not enough time.
Mm-hmm. Man, 4:30 every day. What time are you going to bed?
10 maybe.
Yeah, about 10. I tried
Okay.
3:45 for quite a while, but I noticed it's your body the best, but like 3:45 really was pushing like it was getting too straining on me during the day. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to go back up to 4:30, but I'm gonna try push it down again. It's like a workout, like you have to, you keep upping the bar as you keep going.
Yeah. Wow. So you didn't start off doing this. You kind of increased it as time went on.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a really interesting thing. I hadn't really thought about that before. It's almost, I don't know. I feel like there's this kind of like guilt, like, well, starting now you have to go to bed at 1 a.m. and wake up at 2 a.m. and work the entire time in between. It's like, no, you
Yeah.
gotta work yourself up to intense hours. I've been listening to a podcast by Jocko Willink, and he wakes up at like 3:30 to 4:30, and he goes to bed at like, I don't even know, like a 10, 11, stuff like that. He was like a he used to be a Navy SEAL. He was like commanding like this whole thing, and he's like the hardcore, just do it and work hard kind of guy. And he has a podcast, and it's really cool. And I use it for motivation.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just when you get up early, you get much more done.
Yeah.
Like before your workday even starts, you did what you had to do for yourself.
Yeah, it's a really big morale booster too. You're just like, wow, I got an entire day's worth of work done before work, and
Yeah,
you're like, I'm on top of the world.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's look at a couple more questions. What I you may have kind of already answered this. What was the moment that you realized you made it? Was that when you got hired in Adam Hawk? You're like, I finally made it as a concept artist.
I think I think it was the moment when I sent out the applications. Because I think there's like an invisible bar
Yeah.
that when you hit it, it's like that's when you can work in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember before I got hired at Atomok, I sent the application to another studio, and they both wanted to hire me. So I knew I kind of had made it. I hit the bare minimum of being able to work professionally.
Mm. That must have been a pretty good feeling.
Yeah,
Oh
I was
yes.
I was gonna reward myself with buying a figurine, but I never did that.
Oh man, when I got my first, oh man, I hate to say this, but when I got my first client work, I spent my entire first paycheck on anime, and
It's
I was still living at home, and I had got out of FZD, and I got hired to work on some theme park stuff,
yeah,
and my whole first check, which was like, I don't know, it was like $1,000 or something, and I spent all of it on anime, and I just bought all these different. I bought probably a bunch of them that you're familiar with, like the Railgun series and Index series. I bought like Cowboy Bebop and all those, all my anime. Still have a box of it in my closet.
nice.
Ugh.
Is that a DVD?
Yeah. I don't even have a DVD player.
That's crazy.
It's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. It called for some celebration, like, hey, I've been
Yeah,
working at this for 5 years, or like, I want to celebrate. And I'm not the kind of guy to go drink and stuff, so I bought a bunch of
yeah,
anime.
yeah. I think it's important though to. This is actually an advice my sister gave to me.
Hmm.
Is like celebrate the smaller victories along the way. Don't wait for the big thing that you're trying for, because like life is pretty short, you know. So
Yeah.
like enjoy the moments as they come. Don't wait.
Yeah. Absolutely. Small victory. You know, take yourself out to dinner. Be like, I did this. I finally got this thing done that I've been wanting to do for a week. You know,
Yeah.
like I finished this illustration and I didn't procrastinate. Like, I'm gonna reward myself. Like small rewards. That's very important. I've read a lot of books on, you know, like business and stuff like that, and they're always talking about small rewards,
Yeah.
just small successes, and like so your brain doesn't know the difference between someone else rewarding you and you rewarding yourself. So if you do something and you know, not literally but basically pat yourself on the back and, you know, take yourself out for your favorite burrito, it's like it sees that as a reward, even though you're giving it to yourself.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. It's important to, because again, it ties into feeling good about doing art, and the quality will be good.
Mm-hmm. This is interesting. Lore. Missing.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is that kind of what is this still in the story?
Yeah, that's so. Eventually, at one point, I want to make a full-on animated show. I just need budgets to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So
I would absolutely watch that.
I would not want to try and do it again in Photoshop.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We had a question a while back. It says, how long does one of those sketches take you now versus when you started? What did you focus on to get faster?
I think always when I do those, it's like I zoom out quite a lot and think like, is the main thing I want to communicate coming across? That's all that really matters. Am I being able to tell the story that I want?
Yeah.
If not, how can I emphasize it and not worry so much about tiny details that doesn't really support it, you know?
Yeah.
Because in a lot of my work, I'm like personally super suggestive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's just about like trying to sell the main idea I want to communicate.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Do you use brush dynamics like tilt and stuff?
No.
No. Okay.
Do you guys use it?
I use this elliptical brush, but I have my pen tilt on so I can sort of match my brush with the perspective and use that. And it actually helps a lot of the time.
Okay. I have to try it.
Atey's voice feels a bit low. Is that just me? I don't know. Does anybody else think his voice is too quiet?
Hello.
Oh, that's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what else. Thank you for mentioning that, by the way, in the chat. What determines, in your opinion, whether one of your images is successful or not? Is that kind of gut feeling, or?
Yeah, I think for me is there's only I think so far one painting I've been really happy with. But I think being able to say like, okay, it communicated what I wanted, and then be okay with that. I think that's for me like that counted as success. But so far, I succeeded once being super happy with the painting, even though it's a painting that wasn't so much popular online, but for me it captured something I was struggling a lot to capture.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
There was another question. Someone says, when is Riot shipping another game?
Cannot answer that.
Yeah, I know.
Tomorrow.
There was someone who said, do you have examples of that work? I think it was so long I don't know what work they're talking about. I think they're talking about old work. Oh, the old work that you were doing, like the spit paints and stuff.
Oh. I don't know if I have. I don't think I have on this computer. Let me look quick.
Okay. Yeah, I did want to ask you if you have any really old work that you're embarrassed to show. We would love to see it, cause.
Wait, I might have my first art test.
Ooh, first art test, huh? Yeah.
If I can find it.
Okay, no worries. There's something that's really inspiring about seeing an artist that you really, really look up to, and they're like, well, this is my work when I started, and it's like, well, I'm better than that. It's like, and it sucks because you hate to share it, but at the same time, you're just like, I.
Can I send you the link? Maybe you can
Sure.
share it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can bring that up.
So I don't remember when this was, but this was like my very, very first test. I got rejected. Never got a response back.
Oh. Okay.
I
Let me
think
see
it
if I
was
can.
like before I started my internship in Stockholm. It's like when I was pretty early on in my drawing career.
Okay. Yep. It opened.
It was for a object game or something. And they basically wanted me to render this thing, and I really, really tried, like super hard, and they just never got back to me. So I guess I failed it. I don't know.
Let me even open this up really big. Yeah, everybody. That's it. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like an object hunt, you said, or a what?
Yeah. Basically,
Okay.
like I think you click on things in the scene and you.
Dude, I work on a game like this now.
They just never got back to me. So like, whenever you do a test and they don't tell you if you fail or succeed, it's like you start speculating, why did I fail? And like, it's a bit unprofessional, but yeah.
Yeah.
I learned a lot trying it, but
No, this is not an art test for Riot.
no.
No.
This was before I even got my first job at Atom Hawk. So this was like maybe 6 months before I landed my first full-time job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just got a message on Facebook Messenger. Could you ask him whether he has any methods for fending off carpal tunnel or back issues? For example, some artists use drafting tables or take breaks or wear special protective blue light glasses. Do you do any of those things?
Yeah, I think first of all, you really have to be super, super careful with your hand. It's your career, like if you can't draw, if you happen to have gotten carpal tunnel, like be really careful and take care of it. And like, for me, I have a standing desk both here and at work, and I like to stand whenever I get tired. And I think exercising helps a lot, especially with your back. And like, for instance, for me, I used to have some lower back pain, but it was because I kept sitting on my foot. So like the tendons were getting really like pulled, and after I stopped doing that, like the pain disappeared straight away. And do whatever you can to take care of your health, because if you don't feel, and like especially like think about like you're not gonna do it for 5 years, you're probably gonna do it for 50 years. Like you really have to invest in your health and your body. Do whatever you can to stay healthy, because it's not a race, it's a marathon.
Yeah, and definitely invest in a good chair too, and
Yes.
good
Oh my
health
God.
habits. This career is not contributing to your health, so you have to go outside, and not literally, I mean maybe literally, but you have to go outside of your career to focus special attention on your health.
Yeah. And I think also like, especially if you're just starting to learn how to draw, or you're maybe a student, it's very easy to overwork yourself. And that's how most people, I think, get carpal tunnel. And whenever, for instance, for me, whenever I feel like maybe my hand's gotten a bit tired or something, that's like instantly a red flag, and I just stop everything. I take a break from work, whatever I can. I just lay on the bed and do nothing. It's not fun, but it's thinking about the future.
Yeah. Oh, I
I
think.
got carpal tunnels
Oh shit.
in my right hand. And for about a year, I couldn't open a bottle, do nothing almost.
Yeah.
So I started training my left hand. And then every day I would write 5 pages, make little sketches with my left hand. And my left hand got really good, like my right hand. But over years, I learned how to switch from both hands to, like, if my right hand gets to overwork a little bit, then I would take the easy tasks with my left hand.
Yeah.
But thankfully, my carpal tunnel is almost gone. It can still take a lot of pressure, but it's almost like a background noise. I can still feel the pain all the time. And you might say, hey, yo, you trained your left hand too. Well, trying to train my left hand still took 4 to 3 hours every evening of my life just to train that hand, which would have been easily been a time to learn how to draw better with my right hand, see? So yeah, you're right. Watch out for your hand, rest, do not push it, and the minute you feel little pain, inflammation, learn how to stop. There is no such thing as like, oh, you have to train through your pain. That's bullshit, okay? Nobody does that. Ask every gym members who broke one of their joints.
Yeah.
If you believe in that, maybe you've seen too many movies with sports or Rocky or whatever. If you get an injury, you heal it by not doing anything, not by working through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's what's it called? The after that, when you're exercising something again to bring it back up to strength after it's healed, or and there's like tissue damage and stuff where they have those like stretchy bands on the fingers when they have like hand accident, like yeah, I don't know, I don't remember what it's called, physical rehabilitation, I don't know exactly.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things you can do to also like be conscious, especially when you're an artist, like there's certain things you gotta be really careful of doing. Like I love badminton, but I had to stop doing it because like it's a really snappy hand motion type of thing. And that put so much strain on my hand that I decided like I'd rather cut that out than put stress on my hand so I can draw more, and it's just like it's a sacrifice, but to me it's worth it than having hand injuries.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we have. Oh, he said that he wasn't asking if that was the art test for Riot. He was asking if you had the art test for Riot.
I never did one.
Oh, okay. So you got hired just like that.
I started as so what they do, I don't know if they still do it now, but I started as a freelancer. And because it was supposed to be like 65 days worth of work contract. And I think that's how they usually do, because like you collaborate, people get a feel for you, you see how things go, and after that we were supposed to see what was going to happen, but I did the 65 days and I've been working since for almost 5 years. So I started straight away working, and it went good.
Okay. Yeah.
But that was the team I was on. I don't know about other teams. Maybe you have to do art tests.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I've been on a project since the beginning of December, and I'm still on it. And it's going to end at the end of September. But I just got a message that the clients are just like, okay, you're basically one of our regulars, so now they basically told me that I don't even really need to invoice them anymore because they're just going to do it automatically, because they're like, well, you invoice us every, short while anyways, so, and I'm like, that's kind of cool, so you're basically telling me that you're going to have me around now on, and yay. Let's see, how long did it take you to get to pro level, like from when you started to when you got work?
I think about 2 years from complete scratch to...
And that was working a lot of hours a day?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was... I think during the last 6 months, when I was like, I felt like I was on the final stretch, I really cut down sleep to 4 to 5 hours a day, every single day. I felt pretty bad doing it, but I knew that I was willing to take that hit just to get the job.
And well,
because
worked.
Sorry?
It worked?
Yeah, luckily. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. And I think people, not you, but people in the, who are learning and wanting to become artists need to understand that it's not how many years until, it was how many hours of practice did you put in. It's like, because some person may say, oh, well, I became a professional in 1 year. Then another person was like, well, I became a professional in 10 years. I'm like, yeah, but that person who did 10 years put in, I don't know, 6,000-7,000 hours. And then the person in 1 year put in 6,000-7,000 hours. So that's like what FZD and like Art Center and stuff are like, it is nothing but work, grind, draw every day. and that's why they get so good so fast. And I think that's why you got so good so fast.
Yeah, I think like there's a certain mileage you have to go through. Where they do in a short span of time or a long span of time is completely up to you.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely. Did you drop everything to draw? Someone asks.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's
No game, no party, not stop meeting friends and whatnot.
Yes.
You gotta give
well,
it
if
up.
they're art friends, then maybe you should meet up with them. But
Actually, one of the best things that happened to me was when I was in Stockholm. So I was in Stockholm for 1 year to work as office assistant. Then I had no backup plan. I had to make it within this year. And during this year, I was just drawing. But I remember I couldn't even get distracted because I had like this USB stick of internet, and I had like 5 gigs each month.
oh no.
So it's like only
That's
critical
amazing.
only critical things I could spend it on, like talk to parents on Skype, or on the very rare occasion to watch a movie.
Yeah.
So
Wow, that's funny. When I was in Arizona, I lived out in the middle of nowhere, and we had to use a Verizon hotspot. We had 10 gigs for our entire family a month. So it was crazy. So I'm just like, I have to use it for this, and then we'd go over, and it would be like extra charges, but it was funny because I can totally relate. It's like need to critical stuff, because nowadays, without even a second thought, I'm putting 10-hour long 1080p videos on and all that kind of stuff. It's like how to beat.
It's really easy to get distracted. So.
How to beat game addiction. Send help. What?
SNED help, right? That's the help right there. No, I'm kidding.
Put what I used to do for video games, and this is for me because I only had a PlayStation. I was working on a MacBook, and that couldn't play any games. But what I did is I completely unplugged my PlayStation. I unplugged my TV. I put it in a box in my closet, so it would have taken me, an hour to set it up, and the motivation to set it up just wasn't there. So that's how
it's
I
like it's okay. There are two ways to fight addiction. Okay, either you muster the discipline to fight it every day, or just cut the roots.
You make it
just
unavailable.
Cut the roots. I have like a really shitty PC. Send your consoles out.
Yeah.
Unplug your television and use like a flip phone. End of story. Even if you want it, you can't play it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for me, I always hit my snooze button. So what I do is I put my alarm on the other side of the room in a box, and I have to get up and go. I'm so mad at myself in the morning too. I'm like, you idiot! Like, I gotta get up and turn this stupid alarm off. And by the time you're done, you're like, okay, well, I'm awake enough to now be disciplined to stay up or whatever. But cut the roots.
Always put your alarms far away. And also, dude, like, at least for me, sometimes it can get really crazy, right? Like, I don't eat like high sugar foods or heavy food if I need to work a long day. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't like to read like negative news. I don't like to talk to people that might have like negative vibes or take away too much from my time. You know what I mean? I don't even start like any television series ever. If you ask me, oh, have you seen whatever? I don't know. Like, if you read that, if you started watching that anime series, no, I don't. Like, you know what I mean? Because I know if I start, I will just keep going.
Yeah.
That is how I know myself. And if you know yourself well enough, you will know how to control yourself. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't lose anything. I actually have a lot more time to work on my own thing. So that's...
I think also it's important to think about the field you want to get into. Like, if you're looking to get into a game developer, being like I used to do a lot is watch playthroughs of games, because I knew like whenever I have lunch, I would watch a playthrough. I did it for a really long time, and like I still want to be up to date on like the latest games and the features of it, the stories of it. But I know I can't commit time-wise. But like when you have lunch, watch playthrough. There's so many people on YouTube playing through games, and to me, it's a very close, similar experience to you playing it yourself. You just can't do other things at the same time.
Yep.
But you still can take away value from it.
Yeah, I still listen to no commentary playthroughs all the time. It's like ambience, you know. And
Yeah.
I have an addiction to Achievement Hunter on YouTube with the Rooster Teeth guys who did Red versus Blue and all that.
Nice.
I still keep them on in the background all the time. They're a little bit more distracting though. I think playthroughs are a little bit less distracting, but yeah, during meals I'll definitely watch playthroughs. And you work in the game industry, you kind of saying I work in the game industry so I have to play video games, that's wrong. You don't need to play video games, but you probably should keep at least an idea of where things stand. So
Yeah.
you know, because
I think-
clients, yeah.
I think especially if you're learning, it's very easy that it gets in the way. You know, when you succeed, that's when you can allow that back in, because I do think it's important to keep that fun.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the story behind these guys with the tall cylinder heads, by the way? I'm so interested.
They're like just robots that like are part of society. You know,
Okay.
like I'm not too keen on the design, but I'll go back to it at one point.
I love the hat on top. It's so cool. And, like, how does arm even like reach up there very easily? It's like, ugh. It's really cool. I love that. Oh, I love the use of the light, the dark on light in order to silhouette this camera lens, and really cool. And penguin. I don't know. I love this project. I've always loved this project.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see. I think we have a couple more. Okay. Your favorite resources?
Like as in just
Well,
inspiration?
I guess you kind of already talked about, you know, the CG, what is it, CG Hub?
Conceptart.org.
Conceptart.org.
Yeah. I think Pinterest is pretty cool. Like you can go in there, search for one thing, and then you come across this other thing which you're like, whoa, what is this? But it can eat up a lot of time, so I'll be careful with that. And ArtStation is probably my favorite place. I check it every single day.
Okay. Yeah, I love ArtStation too. I check it
Yeah.
all the time. I'm trying to post more and build up my followers a little bit and just be active, but I think you're one of the most followed people on ArtStation. 75,000 followers. Crazy.
You have a 14,000 follower on your YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
trying to build a YouTube thing. It's a lot of trial and error, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think your Instagram's the most popular though. That's like 230K or something, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's
Awesome.
So you're doing well, by the way. Doing well.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think your resources kind of shift from when you were a student to when you're a professional, because like maybe you use like a resource website for learning, I don't know, like some of the fundamentals when you're a student, but after you're a professional, you're using them on a daily basis, so you don't need to daily reference to like Scott Robertson's How to Draw and How to Render, or Framed Ink, or any of these books, you know, James Gurney's Color and Light. Like, you don't really need a reference to that on a daily basis after you get established, because a lot of that stuff you know, so it depends, you know.
Yep.
And then I think CG Hub was the one that disappeared, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
that was
I never went
terrible.
on that either.
That was I could go on a rant about that, but yeah. That was really bad for everyone in the community, because like no heads up, no nothing, it's just poof.
Yeah, that's
All
so
gone.
crazy.
You couldn't save any of your, because like there's so many people you're following, you couldn't, like you know, you recognize their work, but you couldn't track them down.
Oh, it stinks.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough day for the art community. Luckily, the
Dark day.
ArtStation,
ArtStation took over.
Yeah.
and they're doing such a good job. I
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
love that website.
ArtStation, I'm always amazed at what a good job they do. You know, with the
Yeah.
what is it with you can like sell stuff on there now. You can sell prints. They're always adding stuff too. What they had to start with was a rock solid foundation. Their layout is great. They have a good way of. ArtStation is difficult for an up and coming artist to get established on, because you have to reach that tipping point of getting enough followers and likes to start showing up on the main page. But once you reach that tipping point, then you can really get noticed. And clients don't you can literally send your ArtStation to a client and they won't care. Like, they'll look at it as a portfolio. Even the free non-pro version, like I've sent my ArtStation to clients before and they've hired me. It's just like, I'm not, my ArtStation's not even pro at this point. But so for students, having a resource that you can upload your work onto for free, that you can send clients to it, is great. Like, it's just really great.
I think one thing that's pretty good about ArtStation, especially if you're a student, is like you said, the work that's surface is usually the higher end work, and that kind of gives you, because most of those people are professionals.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you like a lay of the land, I guess, of like what the bar is, or the high ends of the bar, the mid tier. Like, it just gives you like what the playing field looks like. So it's just good to like expose yourself to that. Because if you have nothing to compare to, it's really hard to tell if you're close or far away from succeeding.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, there's certainly exceptions, but if you're getting attention, if people are liking your work and sharing it, and you're getting a bunch of followers, you can be pretty sure that you're probably good. Like, unless there's some exceptions. Like, if you do a whole bunch of fan art of everybody's favorite characters, I think the bar is a little bit lower for quality, because people like it for the character, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so and so from this show, and you might not be good enough to work even if you're getting a lot of attention. But if you're doing your own designs, if you're doing your own, illustrations, whether you want to be a concept artist or an illustrator, and that's picking up a lot of traction, I would say shoot for a job. If you're getting good feedback. But yeah. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because I have definitely noticed that there's people out there who think they think they're a lot better than they are, and they're like, why can't I get work, this and that? And I'm like, well, because your entire ArtStation is full of diva fan art from Overwatch, and it's not like your own designs, and like, it just depends what you want to do, though. Start a Patreon.
Yeah, I think it's also like a bit of who you're applying to and what they're actually looking for, that plays into it. Because basically the people want to hire you to help solve their problems. Maybe they don't need help to solve diva problems. Maybe there's other like more specific designs. So yeah, it also depends. Like, it doesn't mean when you get rejected from a studio, it doesn't mean you're bad. It could be that whatever your taste or your work is not suited for what they need, but could be somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so true. You could be good, but not the right fit. You could be a square peg trying to fit into a round hole, and you're perfect for a square hole. Not to say that you're square, but joking. But yeah, exactly. I actually watched the YouTube video for this. I love this piece. It's one of my favorites.
It was a challenge with friends we did, where we all have to interpret one topic, but this is like, I think we had about a month, so as much time as you want to put into it, and the topic was like reborn. So I love Game of Thrones as well, so I've been inspired by that.
Oh, okay. I haven't let myself watch Game of Thrones yet. I know if I start watching it, I'm going to binge 7 seasons, because I heard the 8th season wasn't very good, in a week, and I'm going to die, and I'm not going to get any work done and stuff. So I'm very scared, because I have a really addictive like personality. If I really get into something, I'll spend 2 weeks doing nothing but that.
I would try the books.
Yeah, I've
Um,
heard they're good.
they're incredible. The only thing that might get a bit difficult because there's a lot of names and characters, but if you don't want to, because to me, like I've read the books, I think five times. Uh, I love them, and I liked season 8. I know a lot of people don't like it. I liked it.
Oh,
It could have been better, but I liked it.
okay. Well, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about reading the books first.
Yeah, they're really good. It's just whenever people who haven't seen the show, it's just a bit hard to keep track of everything.
Mhm.
But I would recommend it, especially that you can work as well. You know, you don't have to get distracted by a show.
Yeah, I remember there was a video with Shadi Safadi, and he had his brushes named as Game of Thrones characters or something. I don't remember exactly. It was funny. It was a long time ago though.
Yeah.
What was I? Oh yeah, there's one series of books I read, the Sword of Truth series.
Okay.
It's like a medieval fantasy. There's like 13, 14 books in it. They're all like 700-800 pages long. It's kind of like The Wheel of Time or something.
Okay.
But I've read those books like 5 times. They're my favorite. I love those books so much. You should definitely try it.
Try that.
So the first book is Wizard's First Rule, and that's the very first book in the series by Terry Goodkind.
Okay.
I can send you the info and whatever after if you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's so good. I have all the audiobooks too.
Nice.
But I listened to like the first 5 books on audio like I don't even know how many times. A lot of times. So
Awesome. Yeah, I'm always on the hunt for new books, so
Yeah.
please send them my way.
oh yeah, for sure. And you'll find that you work so much, and you need something to, like, I don't know how to explain it, you know, because when you're a student, just 100% of your energy is focused on practicing and improving and getting better, and you can't really listen to books at that point because you have to concentrate so hard. But after you kind of get used to stuff, like becoming a professional, working, you find that you're like, well, I can listen to a podcast while I do this, or I can listen to audiobooks while I do this, because all I'm doing is rendering, or all I'm doing is this. It's not really hardcore thinking time. I mean, when you're coming up with your composition, when you're coming up with your color palette and focal point and all that, you kind of need that concentration zone. But after that, this is a career that you can actually do a lot of reading through audiobooks. It's pretty cool. Oh, this is cute. There's a question. Do you suggest using textured brushes for people who are still learning fundamentals?
I would keep it to as simple brushes as possible. Just hard round, I think, is good. Because with textures brushes, it starts to pull into other things that you should consider when painting, but keeping it super simple and being just thinking of textures by painting it yourself, rather than having the brush sculpted for you, I think will just set a easier foundation for you to build off of.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't do anything more complicated than what a traditional medium brush would be.
Yeah.
Like, keep it simple.
Also, all the noise and texture brush is distracting.
Yeah.
You start to see shapes in them and go crazy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, even the brushes that you're using on like a piece like this, and I just pulled this up at random, it's very simple. There's barely any texture to it. It's just a little tiny bit of noise. It's not like crazy splatter, dual brush color dynamics, this and that. It's like simple. Keep it simple.
And I would encourage you, as you're learning how to paint and playing with brushes, try to find when you like a brush, like make a tool preset of like, take the brush and name it to, whatever you want to name it. You know, I use tool presets all the time, and just save it. You know, if you don't like a brush, get rid of it, and try to keep your brush palette as clean as you possibly can.
So this one's really cool. This is made with simple round brushes.
Yeah, it's just
I love
lasso.
this. So you did a whole did you do a whole process for this one? Wow.
Yeah, I did like a intro storyboard type of thing, kind of like
that's
what
cool.
happened.
She's like, ugh. What?
Like typical thing, you wake up in a hospital, they're like,
But
wait, where's everyone?
Hey.
There's blood trail.
28 days
Rick.
later.
There's a news article saying there's an outbreak. And then,
Coral.
oh, where did everyone go?
Coral.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. That's cool. I like this. This is really nice. It's such a nice, like, this is a really cool image because it feels very disheveled but sterile at the same time. I like that.
Yeah. It was a fun painting.
It's cool. It's like it just happened because the floor's not dirty and dusty yet.
Yep.
But there's nobody there. It's nice. Oh, this one's another one of my favorites.
This was probably like one of the biggest turning points in my artistic career, I think.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that.
Because like up to this point, if you go, I think you can go one more to the right.
Yep.
One more maybe. No. Okay. Let me send you a link because a lot of my older work was. I'll put it in here.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it was trying to be. Because like for me, like up to this point, I've been very careful about. I was always afraid about stylizing thing, and I had to be like super serious and stuff. But with that Silent Hill piece, that was the first time was like, I really love anime, and I want to try and paint something like anime, and I don't care if it's like. I don't care about anything else. That's all I really want.
Yeah.
And I was always afraid to admit that to myself for a long time. You know, coming out of the closet to admit that I like anime. You know, and I like to paint more stylized things because I always, in the back of my mind, there was a phase where, everything has to be super serious and very realistic because that's what clients want and employees want. So being able to break that was like a huge point for me. And after this, it just went a completely different direction.
That's really interesting. So are you glad that you actually? I wanted to say you cropped this like crazy to really focus on that focal point. That's really cool. This gives you an idea of just how much work you can do that can be cut off. And it's funny because when you read Stephen King's book on writing, he talks so much about editing out 50% of what you write and only getting to the meat of what you want to say. Don't beat around the bush. Say, like, instead of saying something very timid, he's like, don't say like, like, I don't know. He's just like, say, John walked to the store. It's like, just say it how it is. He's like, you don't need to be creative. Be creative through your storytelling. Don't be creative through how you say something, because people will just think it's dumb. And I feel like art's the same way. Just show it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, don't need all this. Don't need a bunch of. You don't really need fancy stuff. You just need to show what you want to say.
Yeah.
Just
go for it.
And I totally forgot about what I was going to say before. Oh yeah, so. Are you glad that you did go through that phase of realistic, or do you wish you had started off doing this kind of stuff?
I think it led me to the path I'm at today, so I'm okay with it. I think it was necessary. Sometimes you have to go through certain paths to get to where you end up eventually.
Okay. Yeah. That's really interesting. Do you find this harder to do?
No, it's actually much more relieving.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. It's also more fun because that's what I really enjoy. Rather than trying to be excited about something you're maybe not that excited about. It's again ties into like having fun when painting, and whenever I've reached stages in my career where I'm not having fun, I always take action to make sure I am. Whether it's leaving Atom Hawk or switching from environment to illustration, it's super important to always make sure that I'm having fun with what I'm doing.
This is a really nice piece.
Thanks. The theme was artificial intelligence, so I
Mm.
was thinking like this robot just like waking up early morning, getting ready to go out and do robot things during the day.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Did you?
I
Is
like the
this another
tiles
one?
on the
Yeah.
wall, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's
This
like
is-
it's not high-techy. It almost feels like, oh, you can build it in our hospital we have in this world, right?
Mhm.
That's why it's awesome.
Hmm.
At least for me, that's why it's awesome.
So Super Friends, is that another thing like the Spit Paint group?
Yeah, that was like a challenge among artist friends.
Mhm.
It started from the fact that it's different from spit paint, but it started from the fact that none of us was doing any real serious personal work outside of freelance work.
Mhm.
Uh, so by getting together and agreeing on a theme, uh, it became so fun, you know, because it was super open. You can interpret however you want the subject matter, but you have 1 month and you have to post it.
Mhm.
And we post all together, and you're not allowed to share work in progress prior to that point. So you wouldn't get influenced by how someone else would interpret it. And it was so freaking fun when we were posting it, because like people thought of the same thing so many different ways.
Mhm. That's really
It's
cool.
dude, I tried it with a couple of friends. There was like 7 of us,
Okay.
and we had like a little sketchbook.
Okay.
And each one of us will say, go clockwise, saying whatever, like socks, dirt, anger, anything, whatever. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And each of us would have like a 5-minute timer. That's it.
Oh.
And but then this is how we do it. Like we draw it, right? But then we switch our sketchbooks to the guy on the left.
Okay.
So if you have like 6 guys, that'll be like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And you have to be right on the dot and give it to each other. And then that's when I was trying to teach some guys about like, you know, they were asking me like, oh, what about originality? What about this and that? So I said, look, okay, we all do this together just for 30 minutes and you will learn what I'm trying to say, right? And then we all did it, and we said one thing, but all 6 of us interpreted it different.
Yeah.
Right? And then our drawing style is completely different. The way we work is different. How lazy we are is also different.
Yeah.
And that's when we basically agreed that, oh well, you know, since everybody's doing it their own way, why should we worry about originality? Because this is original, right?
Yeah.
In its own way, yeah. And it also works better while you're drinking beer if you
Yeah.
your hands gets more loose.
Yeah. You
And
don't worry
think
too
about
much.
fundamentals. Yeah, 5 minutes each. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, here's that one. That is awesome. I don't want to take too much of your time today. We could probably wrap it up soon if you want. You already answered what your plans are for the future and what you're working towards with your project and IP, which I think is so awesome.
Thanks.
You answered when you decided you wanted to become a concept artist. Aside from concept art, do you have any other activities and hobbies? What are your interests?
I like playing games, and
Yeah.
that's about it. Well, hopefully when I get a dog, that will be a sign
Mhm.
off.
Dogs are great to have. I grew up with dogs. Just
Yeah.
all the time. Just dogs are great.
Yeah.
Cats are
One
pretty
day.
good too. Both of them.
Yeah.
Both
My-
is the
my wife-
best.
My wife is a cat person, so we're gonna get a cat as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. The best part is when you get a dog and a cat when they're both young and they just
Yeah.
lay on and they just flop on top of each other like their whole lives. So it's really nice.
Yeah, that's what we want to get at the same time. We don't want to try and like, because we could probably technically get a cat now, but we want to wait and get them both at the same
Yeah.
time.
Well, cats are really self-sufficient too. They can be left at home and they'll just chill, like they don't care. But dogs are like you want to be like this is a person basically, and we need to spend a bunch of time with them. Not that cats shouldn't have spent time with them, but they're more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
That's all. That's pretty much all the questions that we had. Do we have any questions in the chat? We've been live for about 2 hours and 10 minutes.
YouTube, I don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
On the other one, last one is, can we see some environment concept work done for Riot?
No, unfortunately not yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't answer that one because I figured it was a no.
We're gonna edit this one out. Sorry, folks.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Okay. So
No. People are asking so many professional questions
yeah, it's
because
good.
we have numerous Riot fans here.
Oh
so.
yeah. In fact, we have one girl I know. I think she works for Riot. Mindy Kang.
Mindy? Oh yeah, I know her.
She's a friend of mine. I was at Art Center with her and hung out some.
She's really good.
Yeah.
She should post her art, but she's really good.
Well, I asked her if she wanted to come on sometime, and she's like, "Are you kidding me? Absolutely not." There's a couple people I've asked to come on, and she's gonna hate it hearing this because she's gonna be embarrassed. But there's a couple people I've asked to come on, and they are like, not in your wildest dreams. And I'm like, I'm gonna get you on. Don't worry.
She is a super talent. I just wish she'd post her work.
Yeah, she's really cool. And Adam told me to bring her on. Yeah, so, okay, that's cool that you know her because she's really nice. So I guess we can wrap it up then. We had a lot of good questions and we covered a lot of good stuff. This is one of my favorite sessions so far.
Thanks. It was super fun.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we tried not to interrupt you, and we just it's your time today, so we let you talk as much as you can.
Thank you.
Yep. And I definitely want to give a shout out to your social medias and stuff. I think Justin in the chat, he's posting. I think he's a huge fan of Riot. He's like a major fan. He was one of my classmates in Art Center, and he's like a total Riot fanboy, I think, he's a nice guy. So I'm sure he's happy to have you on, and everybody else here is happy to have you on. And so
cool. It was super fun. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can definitely join us again sometime in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Maybe when the game goes live, we can have another chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love
definitely.
to have a session where we just push and plug your game. Just like, yeah, get this game. It's like need that marketing.
Well, I think it's an interesting thing of just like taking an IP from, because I think a lot of people do personal projects.
Mm-hmm.
So like just sharing the failure course from day one to launching something.
Yeah, definitely. Like maybe we could even go through like, yeah, your whole project. It's like oh, okay, this week we have a special, and it's it's on beginning to end of this project, and people can really see like, well, first we did this and it didn't work, and then we did that and it didn't work, and because a lot of people feel like they need to succeed the first time, but that's rarely the case. In fact, almost I would say basically never the case.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a great Sunday, guys.
Yeah,
and...
you too. And if you ever make it down to Pasadena, hit me up and we can go get ramen or something.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Have a good one. Thanks for everyone who was watching as well.
Yep. And you don't need to leave the hangouts when we stop the stream because I'm just going to hit it on OBS. So thank you everybody for coming. And we will see you next Sunday with Dina.